Hi everyone, this is Economics 102. What is the loanable fund model? So the explanation behind the model is that we're trying to graph pretty much how the supply of money, what effect that has on interest rates. So how do we come up with it? Take the GDP in a closed economy, which is consumer spending plus investments plus government spending, and rearrange that for investments, which gets GDP minus consumer spending minus government spending. And then we take the left side of that as national savings, and then we take that national savings and say, okay, then that national savings is going to be equal to investments, and so that's also going to be equal to y minus g minus c. And then we take in t and substitute that in, and we get taxes on both sides. These will cancel out because they're equal, but what that represents is that means the national savings is related to both public and private savings. Now, why does this matter? So let's talk about who supplies funds. We talked about that public and private savings. The original supply-demand graph for interest rates and quantity of loanable funds looks like this. Red would show the demand, orange shows the supply. Where they meet is where the interest rate is. So if you take a shift in the demand and shift it to the right, that represents an increase in demand for loans. Now what that does is that creates a new intersection point with the supply, assuming the supply hasn't changed, and that causes the intersection to be higher up on the graph, meaning the actual interest rate of the loans is higher now. So what about lower demand? Same thing, opposite direction. Look at the shift. If it's going to the left, that means for demand, that means the interest rates are going down. Right means it's going up. So now let's talk about why demand can actually increase for loans. So there are two reasons that I want to get into. So technology is increasing. Businesses think they can make more money by taking loans to invest in capital, to increase their productivity, to make more money, or the government is providing tax incentives to encourage companies to sort of invest in a sector. So they might want to take out a loan to have the money to do that. So the lower demand for loans would just be the opposite of that. So let's talk about real life examples. So in Canada, in the 2020s, there was a pandemic, and the government wanted to provide relief to families who were experiencing that. So they implemented the CRB, which pretty much is free money for a lot of people. Now, what that meant was that the supply of loanable funds greatly decreased because the government was saving less money because they were running a deficit, and the amount of demand for loanable funds also increased because the government was taking loans to give people free money. So pretty much what happened was, like we discussed, when the demand increased and shifted to the right, that caused interest rates to go up, and when supply decreased, that caused interest rates to go up as well, which caused everyone's borrowing costs to go up. That was bad for everyone because now everyone had to pay more money to borrow, decreased businesses. Now, this is my bibliography.